morning and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We're going to go over a couple housekeeping notes. The first one is that all lines have been muted. For all questions, please use the Q&A section and we will address those at the end of the webinar. Again, thank you for taking the time out to share your minute of your day with us and share a coffee with us. As we often say, we're running on coffee and dry shampoo. So I think the title of the webinar is fitting for me anyhow, and maybe for some of you. At the end, you will receive an email with a gift card and you can treat yourself to another coffee. Our agenda today is to go over the metrics and the KPIs for manufacturing, common mistakes, departmental metrics, dashboards, reporting, inquiries, and BI, and a product demo. Today, your presenters are myself, Eva James, Senior Account Executive, and Lori Bolsinger, Solutions Architect. You are familiar with Crestwood, and some of you are new to the Crestwood community. So I'll share just a few highlights with you. Crestwood started in 1998 with a vision to empower businesses through ERP solutions. Early in the 2000s, we joined the BDO Alliance, which has grown dramatically over the years. And then we added Acumatica to the mix. Today, Crestwood is led by our CEO, Jason Schaefer. As you can see, our organization has been built over the course of 25 plus years to support the beginning, middle, and end of our customers' ERP experience. Crestwood prides itself on supporting the full life cycle of your business's ERP experience. We are not a transactional type business, but a business that has been built on successful, long-term relationships with our customers. We always say we want to be with you for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. And we're seeing a lot of those generational changes and really exceeding our relationship with you by delivering on the ERP implementation, customizations, hosting, ongoing support, and business process optimization. With that, we're going to switch and start talking about the reason you're here today, and that is metrics and KPIs. Metrics are everywhere in manufacturing organizations, from accounting to sales to quality to production. Monitoring data helps manufacturers like yourself increase sales, improve product quality, reduce costs, fend off competitors, and develop innovative products and services. Most manufacturers pay careful attention to metrics to drive daily decisions, improve quality, reduce risk, and guide operational excellence. However, executives often struggle to make sense of the information due to data issues, lack of a strategic vision, missing benchmarks, and focusing on lagging indicators. Further, departmental metrics do not always align with corporate goals, and manufacturing leaders experience paralysis by analysis with too many metrics. So we're here today to help show you how we can streamline those initiatives. There are 4 classic types of metrics. Descriptive analytics is often used to help identify lagging indicators. They help understand what happened. Expand into diagnostic analytics to determine why things happened, and predictive analytics to recognize when they might happen again. Prescriptive analytics helps us to avoid the issues before they occur. And now advances in technology have created a 5th metric, cognitive analytics. And this is where the AI and machine learning improves metrics and automates procedures to mitigate issues without human intervention. And I think we all know AI is the hot topic right now. There are thousands of financial, sales, manufacturing, and operational metrics that manufacturers develop and monitor to drive improvements throughout every aspect of their business. But what are the most critical metrics that transcend industry segments? This is a list of recommendations for KPIs that successful manufacturers use to grow successfully. Managers must review these metrics with leadership to make sure their departmental goals align with the corporate goals. So, for example, in manufacturing, order cycle times impact quote to cash, and inaccurate inventory directly correlates with material planning and scheduling, which is detrimental to throughput. Make sure to document metrics and specify why you measure the results and how the data is collected, and most importantly, what the goal is you're expecting to achieve. And this is a sample of the metrics to consider for each area. But we want you to select metrics that are easy to measure and beneficial for impacting positive change in your organization. Defining metrics and KPIs is easy. The tricky part is collecting the data and presenting it in a meaningful way to your stakeholders. Manual data manipulation and spreadsheet analysis, we all know, delays the information and the results and data accuracy. Most manufacturers rely on specialized ERP applications and connected business intelligence to streamline that data collection and automate the alerts with notifications. Modern cloud ERP applications like Acumatica provide manufacturers with a foundation to combine data from multiple systems with configurable inquiries, tailored reports, actionable role-based dashboards, and dimensional data analysis. And that is what really ensures your data integrity and timeliness. So Lori is now going to show you a demonstration of how Acumatica can meet those needs.
Yes, and thank you so much, Eva. I appreciate all of that. And let's go ahead and start with giving you a little overview of the manufacturing edition for Acumatica. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Acumatica, of course, in order to measure any kind of metric or KPI, we need to start collecting data. Acumatica's manufacturing edition can collect a lot of data during the manufacturing process. So here's just a nice little flow chart of a manufacturing flow of what Acumatica can help you collect. First, we start with the design phase of any manufacturer, and that is our bills of material. How are we designing? We can also have some engineering change control and so forth with that. But these bills of material aren't just a list of materials, it's also a router. How are we going to step through our manufacturing process? Acumatica can then use our embedded MRP or materials resource planning. We can use things such as demand forecasts, master production schedules. It can get demand from sales orders, even mins and maxes that you set on some of your inventory items in order to help you plan for production orders, transfer orders, or even creating purchase orders to get some of the raw components that we need during our manufacturing process and to make sure we have optimal inventory levels. With that, we're also going to need some sort of scheduling. There are various ways we can schedule throughout the system. There is an infinite scheduling module, which is the base module that comes with the manufacturing edition. And this is going to take a look at things like demands from your sales order. When are they requesting their items to come in? And it's going to kind of back up from that. If somebody puts in a sales order today for items that need to come in another week, then our scheduling or infinite scheduling will say, well, now we need to be purchasing by this date to get the materials in. We need to start production on this date so that we can complete it by this date. So it will take all of that into consideration and give you those details into here. However, the infinite scheduling does not take into consideration, can I really do this? Do I have the capacity to do that? If you are looking for capacity planning, that's when you will want to use the advanced planning and scheduling methodology in our finite scheduling, which does take into consideration, is it possible for me to do this? Do I have the capacity in order to do that? And there are some really nice visual scheduling tools to help you with all of that. Finally, we then get to the actual production, where we're deciding what kind of materials we are using in production. So we can release those materials to a production order, which of course degrades our inventory. So I can keep my inventory levels set within the system. It'll also cost. The material costs also get thrown into the production order as well. Labor, we can have our operators clock in and clock out of an operation so that we can collect labor real time. So materials and labors, you have the option in the system to collect that data real time, or during the design phase, we can make some estimates on how much materials we should be using and how much time we think it's going to take to make these items. And we can instead do a move transaction and backflush whatever we have planned. So whatever planned materials and labor time can be backflushed during production. There's lots of methodologies for that with that. We also want to go on and talk a little bit about something that's off the beaten road here, and that is quality. Throughout the system, we can collect some minor quality controls using something called attributes. So if at any point during the manufacturing process, I need to have like a little checklist or a little inspection of things that I need to get done, Acumatica can handle this by requiring some attributes during one of your operations in your manufacturing process. If you have more robust needs for quality than that, things like you're doing testing and recall, you're doing things like inspections and checklists or nonconformance and corrective and preventative actions, root cause analysis, forward and backward scheduling, any kind of certificate of analysis or quality data collection, vendor performance analysis, any items like that, there is a third-party add-on called eWorkplace Apps. And that is a wonderful add-on because it is fully embedded within the Acumatica framework as well. So if you need to capture any more robust qualities, we would recommend eWorkplace Apps to help you with that. eWorkplace Apps also has a second tool that can be used if you are not creating bills of material, but you are a more formula-based manufacturer. Like if you're in the food and beverage industry or chemicals or life sciences, that is really more formula or batch-based. eWorkplace Apps also has a fully embedded product for process manufacturing as well. All of these tools combined can allow us to collect all of this data. And of course, finally, we've got to shipping. After we're done with our production orders, we can ship this out. And this is all going to flow down into the general ledger because after we ship our orders to our customers, we are then going to create an AR invoice. We are going to start collecting that. So on the financial end of this, we also have those finances. Even during the purchasing end of this, we are going to be purchasing items from our suppliers or vendors. We are going to have to receive those items and then, of course, get our AP bills. So all of the financials will be collected in here. So that's the first point I just wanted to make is talk about lots of data is going to be collected throughout Acumatica. Now we need to go through and analyze that data. What are some tools that Acumatica has to help you analyze the data? I do like to say this as a general rule of thumb. If the data is located somewhere within Acumatica that you need in order to slice, dice, analyze, manipulate, do some calculations on so that you can create these KPIs and be able to analyze that data, as long as that underlying data resides within Acumatica, there are out-of-box tools that we can help you use in order to help you with those KPIs. So we're going to be talking about 3 of those tools in here. The first one is going to be dashboards. Now, there are plenty of sample dashboards in here. I'm going to start by focusing on some of these manufacturing dashboards. Now, these are some standard dashboards that do come with the manufacturing edition. And these are a nice visual way to help you analyze the data. Now, these are just some sample KPIs and some sample metrics that we see are used very commonly in manufacturing in here. So if I'm a production manager, I am going to be interested in all sorts of data in here. I might be interested in my late production orders. I have 13 late production orders. I might be looking at some labor variances, some material variances in here. I can see how many orders we have out here and what status they're in. Are they planned, completed, in process? Lots of different ways that we can analyze the data. We can put them into tables. We can put them in different charts or graphs, or of course, these little KPI scorecards. Now, all data on a dashboard is meant to be drillable. This is a nice visual for me, but if I need to get into some more details of this data, I'm going to want to drill down and see some of the details. So let's take an example like my production orders by status. I see when I point to in process that I have 2 production orders that are currently in process on my shop floor. I'm going to just click on this in process because I want more of the details. These are the 2 production orders that are out there. Here is what I am making. If I want some more details about this production order or any individual production order, I have a couple choices. One, I can drill down into the production order and be able to see more of those details in there. So that's one choice that I have during this. The second choice, and as I am drilling down into the details of this, notice it is opening up into another browser tab in here. So when I am done, I can just close out that browser tab and I don't lose my place in line. So that is one option for your drill downs. The second option, now that would be great, but if I had 10 production orders open, I'm going to have to drill down, close out, drill down, and close out, and so forth. My second option for this is going to be using what's called a side panel. Instead of drilling down and closing out, there is this nice little caret on the right-hand side called side panels. So I could, instead of drilling into each one, just select a production order on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side is going to change to show me the details of that. So side panels are a nice way to also drill down and see data as we're going through. So lovely different option. We'll see a couple different side panels throughout this presentation as well. Now, as I drill down, we saw earlier into one of these, if I want to have more of the details about this event, I have a couple choices in here as well. I completely have a few options in here, like I want to see the events. What have we done so far? I can get down and see my totals. Here were my planned costs versus my actuals and some variances. But I also have some side panels over here on the right-hand side. If I want to know where are we at with production, I have this nice little side panel called by production order analysis, where I'm going to get a nice visual of my production. It looks like there are 2 operations that I need to complete. I see in my first operation, I am about 63% completed with operation 10. So from this, I can have some more analysis of exactly where we are at within this operation. I can record some labor. I can see some cost variances so far. and get some nice little analysis from there. I can also see some other information like my critical materials. What are the materials that I needed in order to create this? If I was short on any materials, I would have seen them in here. If I click on show all items, it's going to show me all of the items that are currently being used in order to produce this. So we'll get some nice analysis. Again, this is all stemming from the dashboard. When I am done with this analysis, again, it opened up into different browser tabs and I can get right back down to my dashboard. So quite a few different KPIs that we can see in a dashboard. Now, one thing I always like to mention about these dashboards, even though this is a sample dashboard that comes with the manufacturing edition, dashboards are meant to be modified. There are a couple ways that you can modify this dashboard or any dashboard within Acumatica to really make it your own. The first thing I like to call out is some of these little KPI scorecards up here. Notice they're different colors. These colors are supposed to tell a story. In my case, green means that's good, we are fine. Yellow means I might be hitting some threshold. It's like a warning that I might be hitting some threshold or approaching a threshold that is considered unacceptable. And red means I am past that. I have hit that threshold. This is unacceptable. So things like 13 late production orders. Now, the whole point of this is your KPIs might be different than my KPIs. Maybe I have thousands of production orders out there. And if that's the case, if I only have 13 late production orders, we might think we're doing pretty good. I don't need that to be red. Well, let's go ahead and modify the threshold that is set that changes the color of this. If I'm a user with permission to do so, I can come up in here to design. I can hit the little pencil next to late production orders. And here's where I can pick what I consider a normal level. Maybe I think 10 late production orders is pretty normal for me, and I don't want to be alarmed until I'm closer to 20. When I hit finish, that is going to change yellow because I'm right between those two thresholds that I set. So I love that within these dashboards, I get to pick those thresholds because my eyes are going to be drawn to the red. This is what needs my immediate attention today. Next, I'll be looking at my yellows and finally just high five myself over anything that is green because that is going very well. So that is one way you can modify a dashboard is by changing how these colors react. The second way we can modify a dashboard is, of course, I can add new dashboard widgets. Again, I'm going to come up here to design and scroll down to the bottom and choose to add a new widget. There are lots of ways you can display data on a dashboard. We're seeing quite a few examples here, such as charts, some data tables here. We can embed other web pages if we would like to. Those KPI scorecards we've seen, we can link to another workspace item or another form within Acumatica. Pivot tables can be created directly in Acumatica, displayed on a dashboard. And we can also integrate with Power BI as well. If you have a Power BI, and we will talk about this a little bit later, but you want to bring that Power BI tile into a dashboard in Acumatica, you may do that as well. Our job here at Crestwood, as your partner, when you are implementing Acumatica, we do like to sit down with all of you and say, hey, what information would be important for you to see on a dashboard? And what we do prefer to do is build those dashboards together. And the point being is that you will then have the knowledge and the training going forward that you are more than welcome to build your own dashboards in the future. So just wanted to show some of the flexibility of some dashboards, not just seeing the KPIs, but having my eyes drawn to any kind of KPI that is considered unacceptable that I needed to be alerted to. So this is one manufacturing dashboard that could be very useful for a production manager. A couple other dashboards that are standard with the manufacturing edition is more of an engineering dashboard. If you are a custom manufacturer, and you might have lots of engineering change requests or engineering change orders for those bills of materials, this would be your dashboard in here, where I can see some engineering changing requests that are pending approval. Same with engineering change orders, some ones that are effective this month. I can even see open ECRs by who requested them as well. Even approved engineering change requests that have not been converted to an actual engineering change order. So some other data like this that is more related to the engineering side or the planning side of your manufacturing process. A third kind of dashboard that I love to share is this production meeting. This is a fantastic dashboard if you have that production meeting with multiple team members. So we're talking people from sales, those from purchasing, those from production, who are all going to come together to analyze this data. So this is a great dashboard to give us those details from all of those different areas of our company. So I see a couple of them from production, like my orders to release this week, some of those late production orders. I also see some that are more sales driven. Things like what missed sales order lines? What were we supposed to finish yesterday based on a sales order that we did not quite complete in there? And again, all of these can be drillable, so I can drill down and see the details of those orders and get some more information on that. Like which customers are effective? Do I need to be calling them to let them know that we are delayed, that we missed our benchmark from within here? So these are things we can typically be talking about. Purchasing, we might want to see, we were expecting some materials to come in that are late. Which one are those late purchase orders? And let's take a look at those lines. But that is something else we can be looking at and analyzing during your production meetings. Are we going to be behind because we have, look at this PO out there that is pending approval? Well, who is supposed to be approving this PO? I can drill into that detail then. See the details of that purchase order, go to my approvals tab and say, Layla, let's contact Layla and see why she hasn't been approving this. What's going on with that? So we can really get back into the details and see some more information that we need to get. So the production meeting dashboard, certainly lots of data that can be analyzed from within here. Now, in addition to some production meetings and some production analytics, everything, as we mentioned before, is flowing down to the GL, and there are other areas that are certainly helping our manufacturing process. One of them is purchasing. We have a full purchasing dashboard if I am in charge of purchasing. Like if I'm a purchasing manager, this type of dashboard might have some analytics that are super important to me. How many open purchase orders do we have? I could see some purchasing trends for the quarter. Are we up or down with our purchasing trends? I even have some suggestions based on some mins and maxes I might have set in some of my inventory items that it's suggesting I have some reorder points. I don't have these quantities available. Here is what I need to be ordering from here. I can take a look at closed purchase orders, any that are on hold, any that are currently open, and again, drill down into this kind of data, as well as our highest turnover items, vendor purchasing trends. So as a purchasing manager, this will certainly be helpful to me. And just some sample KPI metrics we can measure on the purchasing end. On the sales end of items here, there's a couple different sales options that we could take a look at. If I am a sales manager, if you are keeping track of your sales cycles and doing CRM, we can keep track of, oh, now I was on the support manager, pardon me, I went to the wrong one, but my sales managers, I'm going to be keeping track of things like wins and losses. I can see things like my team and what they have been booking in sales. I can see their year-to-date quota versus what they actually have sold as well. So a sales manager might be looking at that. And in general, I might want to see some trends of my customers. What are my customers purchasing? I can see things like where my sales have been over the past 12 months. orders that I have to ship, any late orders, some AR, any that is overdue, what are my top 10 sold items in the last 12 months. Again, whatever KPI metrics are important to you can be listed in here. And as a sample of some functionality we can do in these dashboards, this is showing it for all of my customers, but if I just want to select one customer from in here, now I really get a 360-degree view of this particular customer. What are their buying trends? I can see they typically spike in March and in August, and I can use that data in order to make some analysis for the future. Should I be planning for this for next year if this is a good customer of ours that is that we're really looking at in the long run? So a few different options of ways that we can see this. The final kind of dashboard that I will show you as an out-of-box dashboard is certainly more finance driven, and that would be a controller dashboard, where if I'm looking at more of some AR metrics, some AP metrics, again, I can be looking at AR aging, AP aging, some income versus expenses, and really start analyzing and seeing the data that I need to see. So depending on your role, and Eva had mentioned those departmental roles, I'm going to have those KPI metrics that I need to keep track of and make sure those are in line with our company full metrics. So the dashboards are a great way to keep track of different KPIs. Now, with these dashboards, we might also be saying, where is the back end? Where is all of this data coming from so I can actually create these dashboard widgets in here? The data from each dashboard widget comes from what Acumatica calls a generic inquiry. I like to put it this way. All of the data that's getting stored in Acumatica that we are inputting during our manufacturing process and our purchasing process, that's all getting stored in a backend SQL database. Well, if I just want to see and analyze some of the data in my database, I would have to write a query in order to do that. Well, to be different, Acumatica does not call them queries. They call them generic inquiries or GIs. Very powerful tools within Acumatica. In fact, there was a GI written to present all of this data on here. Now, when I drill into any data like this AR overdue, once I drill into any one, this is showing me the results of that generic inquiry or that GI that we're looking at onto that KPI scorecard. So we'll have all of this data like my AP overdue. Now I get to see all of my vendors and what's open AP that we have for them. But all of this data is stemming from what we call a generic inquiry. So when I drill down, this is the results of that generic inquiry. So wanted to point that out. Now within each of our workspaces, there are other generic inquiries that can be created, not just to display data on a dashboard, but a lot of generic inquiries can be very interactive as well. And let me give you a couple generic inquiry samples when it comes to production orders here. One of them can be something like my production summary. You'll see my inquiries here. This is just a few that I'm listing in here. But if I want to see a summary of all of the production that I've done in here, this is a generic inquiry giving me some details in here. Now, we have some filters in the generic inquiries. So these generic inquiries can be used in order to be more interactive to slice and dice this data. So there's some filters that were created up in here. So I can do things like, let me see just my orders that are completed. I can use that status to see just the ones that are in that status, or I can go back to seeing any. We also have the option for any of these fields. If I wanted to look at my start date and sort by start date, when is it recommending that I start this? I can do some sorting from here as well using any field, and now we'll be able to see that arrow up showing you that I am sorting it by that. I could do some further analytics by let's just see the status. I don't care about the closed and completed ones. I am more interested or what's been canceled, completed, closed, or locked. I'm interested more in what we have to do, what's been planned, what's currently released in process or on hold. Let's click on OK so I can further analyze that. Notice I have this little filter right next to here. That is telling me that I have a quick filter created in Acumatica. So these are great analysis that I can do further slicing and dicing using some really nice tools like some quick filters and some sorting from within here. At any time, I can come up there and remove that quick filter to get back to whatever data I needed to. Now, if I am finding that I am doing the same filter over and over again, Acumatica even allows you within these generic inquiries, a user can create a saved filter. So I, from up here, can add something like I'm just interested in the status that is equal to, let's say, something in process. I can go ahead and hit save, give it a name. And once I apply that, now I will have all of whatever I have done in my save filter be listed here, and I can get back to all records from within here. So always like to point out these generic inquiries can be a little more interactive to help you slice and dice data on the fly. That's one example of a generic inquiry with production. I'll show you one more, kind of a practical example from within here as well. And that might be some material transaction details, where I'm going to see a list of all the materials that have been supported during a production order as well. And give me 1 second to get this in here. And I was playing around with this before. I used one of my filters up in here. But from within here, I can again see what materials have I used during my production process, whether it was a raw material or I even have the parent inventory item. Here was the inventory item I was making, and here were some of the materials I was using within that. If you are tracking lot and serial numbers as well, this could be some important data for you to collect as well. If I hear that maybe a component that I used in manufacturing, there were certain serial numbers that are being recalled, I can come up in here and use these little filters in here to enter in that serial number or that lot number. And now I'm going to be able to see when did I use that piece of material. And in fact, I can drill into it further. Here is the production number that was using that. And I can go and see the line details of the other serial numbers that were created during production for that. So we have some nice little tools that can also be more interactive, practical use for analysis and to be able to get some more details and data that we have. So these generic inquiries are very powerful tools in Acumatica. These are used for the base to show every dashboard widget on a dashboard, but you can also use them as standalone ways to help you further slice and dice the data. So those are two different ways that we can help with those KPIs, dashboards and generic inquiries. Now, the third way is going to be various reports. Now, we all know what a report is. There are some standard reports that come with Acumatica. Some interesting reports that come in here could be a report like my work in process. I want to be able to see which production orders are we currently working with. Again, I have some filters before I run this report. If I have multiple warehouses, maybe I'm only interested in the one in the current warehouse that I'm looking at. But this is going to tell me what production orders are we currently at and what is my WIP total for these production orders. Now, reports such as this are also meant to be drillable. So if I am interested in where are we at with this particular production order, again, I can drill into it to be able to see things like my events, my totals. I can have those side panels that we saw earlier, but we can drill down into the details from a report as well. Now, reports are pretty stagnant though. unlike the generic inquiry where I can do some analysis of some slicing and dicing and be able to sort ascending or descending or do some filtering as well. This is not as user-friendly for that, but it's a little prettier. It's great if you are doing some more, something that you want to be presenting or printing. Some other kind of reports, not just in production, but throughout the system, there are many other reports as well. Of course, everything rolls down to finance. So let's talk a little bit about some financial reports that we have in here. The usual cast of characters you're going to see in these financial statements, such as a profit and loss or cash flow statements, a balance sheet. Of course, this is all data that or reports that are standard within Acumatica. Now, these financial reports are using data that is rolling down into the general ledger as well. When I see any report like this, of course, any data that I need to analyze can be drillable as well. So if I'm looking at these travel expenses here, I can drill down into that number to see, all right, we had some traveling from 2 different locations. If I want to drill even further into one of these items in here, I can drill down into here to see more of the details and, again, more analytics to slice and dice and see what is the details behind the data that is being presented on these reports. Now, all reports in Acumatica can be printed. They can be sent via email, and they can also be exported to Excel or a PDF. Now, to create a report such as this, or to modify a report, Acumatica has a financial report writer that does come with the system that is called their ARM reporting or Analytical Report Manager. That is used to create and modify reports. To create a financial report such as this, the standard out-of-box ARM reporting, you create what they call sets. The first set that you would create would be a column set. And now this column set would be saying my period to date numbers are in this column, my year to date numbers are in this column. Once I define a column set such as this, I can use this column set over and over in as many reports that I would like to in the future. You also would need to define a row set. And this row is telling me what GL accounts are making up the numbers in here. There are some simpler ways to help you define those row sets, such as within our GL or our chart of accounts, you can classify like GL accounts into what we call an account class. So instead of needing to know what GL accounts do I want to show in here, for example, my sales revenue, I could have said there are 10 different GL accounts that make up sales revenue. I can put that into an account class called sales revenue and use that to help simplify me making this row set. Once I have these row sets defined, I can again use this row set over and over in as many reports as I would like to. There is one other kind of set that can be defined in any of these reports, and that's called a unit set. If I hit this little chevron over here, I can see some analytics within a unit. Now, for our purposes here, for those of you who aren't familiar with Acumatica, pardon me, I'll run this one more time. We do support multiple companies and multiple branches, which you will see up in here. So that might be a unit set I am defining with my different companies and different branches to help give me a consolidated report. Or if I want to analyze just my products company, I would click on that and my report changes over here. Or just want to see the P&L for my wholesale branch or my retail. I can want to see them all in bulk or the consolidated report for all of my legal entities. Once this unit set is defined, that is something you can also use over and over in many analytical reports. So I always like to mention the standard out-of-box report writer that is used to create and modify these reports to help you with your analysis. Now, many times I think the ARM reporting with Acumatica serves its purpose fabulously if you aren't doing a whole lot of ad hoc reporting. And with the other tools, such as these generic inquiries, you might not need to be creating a lot of ad hoc reports. But for those that do like to create ad hoc reports and those who love Excel, there is a third-party tool that we would recommend that will help you with this. Even though I can export any report to Excel, if you find that you are doing that with your reports, you're exporting it to Excel and then you're manipulating the data in there, you might want to consider a third-party tool called Velixo. Velixo is Excel-based reporting, which is different than just exporting to Excel, because once I've exported it, it's not real-time data anymore. The Velixo tool, however, is a very nice way that you're using Excel, but it is grabbing the data from Acumatica real time, and that's also drillable data in your Excel spreadsheets. So a third-party tool, if you're doing more ad hoc reporting or you just love Excel, you might want to consider Velixo, which is a nice extension or add-on to Acumatica. Now let's talk about one final idea. We talked about 3 different ways we can analyze KPIs within Acumatica. We again discussed the dashboards. Behind every dashboard widget, there is a generic inquiry, which are more interactive tools. And then, of course, we have our standard report writers as well. Now, I mentioned the rule of thumb for any of those 3 tools are the data has to belong in Acumatica somewhere. This data has to be in Acumatica somewhere in order for you to create those generic inquiries and to be able to create these dashboard widgets and to create reports. But what if some of the data you are attempting to analyze and to help you with your KPIs, what if that data doesn't reside in Acumatica? How can I use external data to help me with any kind of analysis as well? Well, there's a couple methodologies that we can use external data. And part of that is how much data, how often it changes, what you want to do with that. One methodology is bringing the data into Acumatica. Now, there is a couple ways to think about bringing data into Acumatica. I'll give you an example. Perhaps I love CRM. My sales people have been using Salesforce and they don't want to stop. They're using Salesforce. I need, though, to take that information on how many opportunities have been won and lost. And I always like to take in what are our opportunities that are at an 80% probability of closing. We need to be able to know that so that we can prepare and make sure we have the raw materials for our manufacturing process. But that data is in Salesforce. It's not in Acumatica. Well, something like that, there's actually a Salesforce native integration within Acumatica that we can bring that data into Acumatica. But you need to think about, where is that data going to live in Acumatica? In order for you to bring in opportunities and where we're at in the sales cycle, you would need to have those fields available in Acumatica to bring that data in. Well, for that to occur, Acumatica has its own CRM module. That CRM module would be licensed in Acumatica so that we could take advantage of those fields and those tables. Now you suddenly have all the CRM tables and we can bring that data into it from there. So that's one way to think about it. Like, what data do I want? Can I bring it in? And where is it going to live in Acumatica? So one way would be to license a different module if it makes sense for you to do that. The second tool, and I like to talk, we're going to very big basics here, is called a ledger. Ledgers are where all of your data is really being stored in Acumatica. There's a couple different types of ledgers. The actual ledger is your GL. As soon as I post something to the GL, those numbers get stored in your actual ledger. There is a budget ledger. Of course, you can enter budget information in Acumatica. That gets stored in a budget ledger, and that allows you to compare actuals to your budgeted amount. A reporting ledger that can be used for any information you want to do in a report or some analysis as well. I'll give you an example. Use cases for reporting ledgers. If you have multiple companies that use different base currencies, a reporting ledger can be used to translate something from a non-US dollar currency into US dollars so that you can compare apples to apples in your reports as well. So that's one use case for a reporting ledger. Reporting ledgers, if you have multiple companies that are buying and selling to and from each other, we can also use a reporting ledger to manage those eliminations so that you are not overstating your revenues or expenses. Finally, and this is the ledger I really wanted to discuss today, a statistical ledger. A statistical ledger, as you would expect, it's a way to store statistics. So if you have any kind of statistic or data that you say, I really need to bring in statistics about maybe a market trend or something else that's happening out in there, you would create a GL account that can store that data, and we can put that into a statistical ledger. Once data is brought into Acumatica, whether you're using some existing screens in Acumatica or whether you can use something like a statistical ledger, now you can use all of that data to help you write those generic inquiries. We can use them in a report. And of course, if it's used for a generic inquiry, that can then be thrown onto a dashboard as well. So lots of ways that we can bring external data into Acumatica if need be. Now there is another option for that, and that is something I mentioned earlier as I was going through and talking about modifying these dashboards. We talked a little bit about Power BI. Power BI is one tool that can help you be able to grab data from multiple data sources. Within Power BI, you can create data sets from any source, including Acumatica. You can push data from Acumatica into Power BI, into one lake data hub is what they call it in there. But we can grab data from other sources, whether it's Google Analytics or any other external sources out there, and we can put them together in Power BI in order to do the analysis there. This will help you to share reports in other Microsoft services, such as Microsoft Teams, PowerPoint, Excel, or the Power Platform. But you bring Power BI data, can also be brought into a dashboard into Acumatica as well. So not only can we use the out-of-box tools within Acumatica to help you with this KPIs and to help you analyze your data, but please remember, if you have them from multiple sources, you might want to consider some more intelligent sources like Power BI in order to help you with that information. And with this, I am going to pass it back to Eva.
Thank you, Lori. As we know, Lori just showed us how a modern cloud application like Acumatica can empower manufacturing executives and departmental managers with real-time insights through rule-based dashboards, live reports, and inquiries with drill downs to source transactions. In addition, dimensional business intelligence and automated business events and workflows empower leaders with tools to manage their business objectives efficiently. In addition to featuring Acumatica, Lori mentioned a few resources that can enhance the capabilities of Acumatica. eWorkplace Apps has 2 solutions natively built within the Acumatica framework, one for quality and one for process manufacturers. Belixo is an excellent tool for Excel experts. It connects your Excel spreadsheets with real-time data from Acumatica. And Power BI, a great option if the KPIs you are measuring requires pulling data not just from Acumatica, but from other sources as well. Again, we thank you for your time today. Please check your email for your copy on us. And for more information on Acumatica or Crestwood, please visit us at sales@crestwood.com. Thank you.